That's better. Thanks for your patience. How many of you have been to one of our EOS Toronto meetups before? I see a few familiar faces. Awesome, thank you. How many have been to our EREO meetup? We've got a couple people. Awesome. So we started EOS Toronto only about a couple months ago. Started as a pub night, and we've been growing pretty fast. I think we've got over 200 members now in our meetup group. EOS is a very exciting project, and that's why I started the meetup group. There was nothing around Toronto. I was excited about EOS. I was looking for a place to talk to other nerds about it. Couldn't find anything. So a couple months ago, I started the EOS Toronto meetup, and things kind of snowballed. My name's Daniel Keys. Before I get to, some of you may have come in sooner or more recently than when I talked about this at the beginning. I have a contest. We'll be giving away a free Ledger Nano to the best photo of the night. So take pictures, send them to EOS Nation on Twitter with the hashtag EOS Nation Meetup, and may the best photo win. My name is Daniel Keys, and I am the organizer of EOS Toronto. I'm also a partner of EOS Nation. If you're familiar with EOS, you'd understand that EOS is delegated proof of stake. Instead of miners, they have what's called a block producer. EOS Nation is one of the leading block producer candidates. So I'm here representing them as well as EOS Toronto. You can find me both on Steemit and Telegram at ChillSauce. How many of you guys are on Steemit? And how many of you, I guess, would you say that Steemit influenced your kind of discovery of EOS? That's the other way around. You found EOS and then you discovered, okay, that's interesting. So those of you who don't know, Dan Larimer, he's the genius behind EOS, is the same guy behind Steemit and the same guy behind BitShares. I'll talk a little bit more about those in the coming slides. I'm going to keep this pretty brief, very high level. The idea is to kind of give you guys a basic foundation on what is EOS especially the people who don't know much about it. And then we're going to be spending the rest of the day getting more in depth. We're going to have some panel discussions and stuff like that. And I'm going to try to keep it short because we've got a jam-packed agenda. So before EOS, we had first-generation blockchains like Bitcoin. Bitcoin was just the first example of what is possible with a blockchain. A lot of people, when they think blockchain, Bitcoin, they're ubiquitous. But really, Bitcoin is just the first use case. It's the first application to be built on this amazing new technology we call a blockchain. And it proved that it's possible to decentralize the role of trust, in particular when it comes to transacting in money. Before Bitcoin, for me to send money to somebody else on the other side of the world, we needed a trusted third-party intermediary between us. And Bitcoin kind of proved that it's possible without a third party using distributed ledger technology, proof of work. But it was very limited in what it's what it could do. It's strictly a cash. All you can do is hold value and exchange it. You can't really do anything fancy. And it's very limited in terms of its scalability, and you've all heard all of the scaling issues we've had with Bitcoin. After Bitcoin came Ethereum and other second-generation blockchains. So Ethereum, like Bitcoin, it's also proof of work. It suffers from a lot of the same scaling issues that Bitcoin has. But the big revolution with Ethereum is more of a general-purpose blockchain. So whereas Bitcoin was, all it is cash, Ethereum is, hey, this is a platform where you can build kind of other things on top of, things like CryptoKitties. Has anybody used CryptoKitties? No. Do you have any CryptoKitties yourself? Yeah? Awesome. One person, how do you how would you explain like the experience of CryptoKitties? Sorry, I put you on the spot with food in your mouth.
Sort of. It's purchasing a rare art piece.
Yeah.
That is non-fungible, so it's a token that you can trade with different people, and as you trade it, the value goes up. So it's kind of an interesting, it's an interesting piece of art that has certain properties, that has a gaming aspect to it. You can create new kitties.
Yeah.
And then there's a secondary market to it, so people can buy those kitties from.
Yeah.
That's why the value went up like crazy.
Yeah. So that's the technology of distributed ledger technology. It was like, wow, we can create this digital asset. It's a cartoon of a cat, but I can prove that it's unique, that I can breed it, and I know that what I have is the only version of it. But what about the user experience with CryptoKitties? Would your grandmother or mother be able to figure out how to buy a CryptoKitty? To buy CryptoKitties, you have to have Ethereum. You have to know how to store it safely. You have to go to a site, know how to use MetaMask. It's an awesome, great use case for nerds like us who are really into crypto and want to play around with it. But it's not something that's going to bring the masses, because the average person, they don't know what Ethereum is, and they don't want to deal with having to store it in a wallet, and they don't like the idea of, for example, if we were to build something like Facebook on Ethereum, and again, it sounds like there's a few people who are familiar with Steemit. If we were to build something like that on Ethereum, it would mean every single time I like a post, every single time I share something, every time I post something, I got to pay. And that's just the way proof of work. You have miners. Miners you have to incentivize them to mine your transaction by paying transaction fees. And there's unfortunately no way around that. There's no way to build a use case that's free to end users. And that's what I find most revolutionary about EOS. So EOS is a third generation blockchain, and the most amazing thing for me is how they flip the economics on its head. So where Ethereum had the great technology, what it was lacking was the human aspect of, hey, we actually need to build something that humans actually want to use. EOS has both the technology and, in my opinion, superior technology, plus what is really the key is it's something that people will actually use. And that's because they don't use proof of work, they use delegated proof of stake, and it's possible to build applications that are free to an end user. So I kind of hinted at this beginning. Dan Larimer, he's the genius behind EOS. He's the chief technology officer building EOS.io software for Block One. The first project he did, the first blockchain he built was called BitShares, and it was the world's first decentralized exchange. He also built Steemit, which is the world's first decentralized social media network where users can just go and interact and earn cryptocurrency just by posting stuff at no cost to them. And if you look at the activity of all, there's how many different blockchains and tokens out there. If you look at the top 3 blockchains with the most activity happening on them today, number 1 is Steemit, number 2 is Ethereum, and number 3 is BitShares. Dan Larimer. And now he's building EOS on the same concept, everything he learned building, understanding how do I build a scalable blockchain that's actually usable. Those were single use cases. Now he's applying it to a new general use case that will be competing against Ethereum. It's a platform that you can build applications on top of, but for the first time you're going to be able to build an application that's free to end user, or you can come up with how you can monetize it how you want. Now the choice is in the developer's hands. Whereas, on Ethereum, you really only had one kind of monetizing option. It was users have to pay per transaction. So I think we're going to see. I think this is the key. This is what's going to bring mass adoption to blockchain. We're going to see EOS launch in June. We're going to see a decentralized app, something like Everipedia launch, which is a clone of Wikipedia built on the blockchain that incentivizes people based on the content they're contributing. We're going to probably start seeing guys with PhDs writing articles, being incentivized, saying, screw the academic journals, that's a whole political mess. I can publish something today and start getting rewarded for it today. And users are going to see all this great free content on there, and they're going to come flocking, and they don't even know that it's on a blockchain. To them, it's a website with great content, and woo, I have an opportunity to earn some money by posting some stuff. That's what brings mass adoption, and that's why I'm so excited about EOS. That's pretty much all I had about EOS. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about EOS Nation. Any questions kind of at the high level about EOS before I move on and talk a little bit about EOS Nation? Sure.
Sure. So I've heard of Steven, but I haven't actually tried it. From what you're explaining, it sounds like really interesting. So would an example be if you wrote a paper and people wanted to read your paper, so they would be paid to read your paper?
They wouldn't have to pay to read your paper even. It's completely, so the network is funded through inflation. So there's inherent value in the network because of the content and the eyeballs that are like, what makes Facebook valuable? It's the fact that there are millions of people using it and contributing content, and advertisers want to pay to access those eyeballs, and that makes Facebook valuable. With something like Steemit, you have that same value of there's all this content and people that's being created, but there's no middleman there taking that value for themselves. So instead, that's getting paid back to token holders. And basically, there's a set amount of inflation per, so there's this token that acts as a mechanism that gives it, like it's almost like a share, but not exactly, but that's what kind of how you measure the value of the network, by the market cap of all the tokens. And they just slowly release more of these tokens, and they're rewarding those new created tokens to the content creators. That's how it works in Steemit. It's similar in EOS in that they're rewarding the block producers. So the people acting as a miner in EOS, they're the ones providing the network capacity, running their computers to provide bandwidth and storage for the network. Block producers are rewarded by the EOS platform through the inflation of the EOS tokens. Renting storage, yeah. There's all kinds of. So we're going to get a little more into that later. So we'll save that. But so I think we're going to have a panel discussion about talking about like how we envision the future of EOS, and I think that's something that's going to be coming up a lot in that discussion. This whole is a whole new economy that's being created with this. If you imagine Ethereum tokens like gas or rent, every action I take I need to pay. An EOS token is more like owning real estate in the network. So if I own 10% of the EOS tokens, I own 10% of the network capacity at a given time. If I were to create a version of Facebook on EOS, my Facebook app would have to hold enough EOS tokens to cover the bandwidth of the users using it. If, let's say, it's a big flop and I have way more EOS tokens than I need, I can sell them. They never get burned. They're always still my tokens. I need to kind of stake them to cover the bandwidth that I'm using.
What kind of expectations do you have for token holders in terms of like having a certain amount of tokens to launch their own platforms, or like real estate goes, or some sort of baseline that people can
I don't think there's any expectation. We're going to see a lot of different models out there. Anybody. There's tons of people out there holding EOS who, for example, has no intention of ever building an app. So what are they going to like? That's unused potential there. There's going to be mechanisms in place, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that with David. where you can rent out your capacity, you can give it, you can donate it. Let's say there's an app that I really love to use, and I know they're hurting for funds, but I like to use it. I'm a user who happens to have a lot of EOS. I can like just donate my. The tokens are still mine, but I'm loaning my bandwidth out to this app so they can use it for free.
So you potentially have situations where someone building the app could have a small ecosystem of lenders. Fund the app.
Or they could have a model where, bring your own bandwidth. You know, if you want to use our app, you have to hold enough tokens to cover your bandwidth.
That's cool.
So that, again, that's the beauty of it is you have all these options. Whereas with Ethereum, is you're kind of stuck with the only option is to pay per transaction. Okay, I'm gonna get rolling here on the EOS Nation stuff, but we will have more time for questions as we go. Let's see here. So EOS Nation. So as I said, I am a partner of EOS Nation. We're dedicated to fostering the EOS platform through reliable and efficient block production and community engagement. We believe in a future where life, liberty, and property is protected through decentralization. So we're big believers in Dan Larimer's vision. That's a big part of what interested me in EOS. And really our goal is just to, this is a great opportunity for the world, and we want to be a part of it, and we want to do our best to help make sure it succeeds. So our priority is to be very good and efficient at creating blocks. That's what a block producer does. We're the ones, hopefully if we get elected, we'll be the ones providing the network capacity. We're kind of the infrastructure of the network. And we just want to do it well and reliably and make sure the network is always up and running and not being censored, and we're adhering to the constitution of the community. We're doing a few things so that EOS mainnet hasn't launched yet. We're kind of in this campaigning mode. We're trying to get support so that when we do launch in June, people know about us and they think of us when it comes time to vote. So some of the things that we're doing in the meantime is we have this ambassador program. We have ambassadors all over the world who are helping us. Basically, we've identified people who are doing great things for the EOS community already. Things like hosting meetups, things like doing hackathons, doing YouTube videos. So these are people that we have identified who are putting out great content and educations related to EOS, and we want to help support them, create a network where we're sharing content with each other, we're sharing each other's network effects. So we have for example, EOS Nation, we got a Facebook group with over 2,000 members. So that's access to a huge pool of EOS fans that we give access to our ambassadors, and they all have their own kind of networks that we're leveraging too. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to help amplify kind of the message that we're trying to get out there. This is a picture. We have 4 ambassadors in Nigeria, and just last week they had a meetup in Lagos, and these are a few pictures of their EOS meetup in Lagos, Nigeria. Really cool thing. I had a good talk with Toju Kaka, is the organizer of that meetup, and what I love about this story is, so he pretty much earns today his living full time on Steemit. On Steemit, it's you post an article, maybe you'll get 10, 12. Sometimes you're very lucky, you get $100 or $1,000 for a blog post, but usually like few cents, few bucks. For someone in Canada, that doesn't sound like much. In Nigeria, $10 will feed your family for a week. So he was a teacher previously. He quit his job as a teacher, and now he's focused 100% on educating people about crypto on Steemit, and now he's getting involved with EOS. I think the biggest opportunity for blockchain is in these developing worlds where there's so much opportunity for them to improve their lives, and it's like low-hanging fruit for blockchain to really make a difference. We've also got a Scholar testnet. So again, mainnet hasn't launched yet, but there's all kinds of people out there vying to become block producers. And until recently, there wasn't a very good way to practice. There was one testnet up. It was full. was hard to get in there. So we created something we call the Scholar Testnet, which is open to anybody who wants to try out being a block producer. You can join our net. There's all kinds of resources there, documentation on how do you be a block producer, how do you connect to the network, and there's a community that can help you. And again, it's just an idea. It's a playground for potential block producers to practice, and it's an opportunity for us all to kind of show our mettle, to prove ourselves. And a bunch of block producers and a bunch of other people are involved in this. Hack Till Dawn. Check out hacktilldawn.com. There's a global hackathon that's coming for EOS. EOS Nation is one of the sponsors. I think you guys are sponsoring it too, right? EOS 42 is sponsoring it. I think you guys are. EOS Index is a sponsor. Should be a great event. I think. Do you guys know that? Have they set the date yet? It's in May. I know that. I don't know if I have an exact date yet. But it's going to be in late May. It's a kind of hackathon from your pajamas kind of event. You hack from home, and there's all kinds of great prizes and stuff like that. So check that out if you are someone interested in developing something on EOS. And oops, that's the end of my slides. We have all kinds of different ways to keep in touch with us. So, like I said, we have a Facebook group with over 2,000 fans. I think there's a couple of EOS Facebook groups out there. We're not the biggest, but I think we're the most fun. If you check out EOS, it's kind of like quiet in there. If you go to EOS Nation, it's very active. We got a Telegram group. We're on Steemit. We're on Meetup. We link to everything on eosnation.io. If you just go there, we have links to everything. Any questions before? Are we ready for? I guess I'll hand it up. Cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.